Welcome to another episode of a Pneuma Conversation, a raw, authentic, and unfiltered conversation with spiritual teachers, leaders, coaches, healers, and seekers. Get to know who we truly are beyond the polished world of interviews, social media, and podcasts. We're not perfect. We struggle too. Join us as we share our lives, our challenges, and meaningful conversations on healing, transformation, and the future of humanity. Today, we're in conversation again with Ann Papayoti. Ann, thank you for joining us again.
Oh, thank you, Chad, for asking. I'm delighted to be here.
I love, we love talking to each other.
I
It's so
know.
great. So
We do.
this this is the third show we've done. I've done one of yours, and you've done this would be the second one. And um, we've done a lot of talking off air.
Yeah.
The question I want to ask you is, and I think a lot of people wonder uh, about this type of thing. What brings us together? Because I randomly just found you. I felt guided to reach out to you,
Yeah.
and didn't know if you would get back or not. I just went by instinct and intuition, and then you responded, and they're just you're in Texas, I'm in Pennsylvania. We've lived two totally different kind of lives. What brings people together like this? And it doesn't just happen for us, it happens for people all the time. And so I was just wanting to know, in your words, what is that unspoken connection, do you think?
Some people call it, I believe, this invisible thread, right? That we're
Mm,
all connected, but some of the threads are more bright light. There's light
mm,
connected to them, and there's a warmth and there's a pull. And so you use the word your instinct, your gut said to reach out to me when you looked at
yeah.
different hosts, when you were considering the network I was with. And your gut, you followed your gut. And I would say that's a higher knowing, a higher consciousness, if you will, when we
Mm,
listen to our gut. That's what you did. I get people asking me questions all the time. Now, my nature is to try to respond, but I don't always if I feel it's not authentic. So again, I listened
mm.
to my gut and I felt that pull. This was someone who is sincere asking a question from a place of real curiosity and
Mhm.
authenticity. So then I answered.
Mm,
So I do believe it's a higher consciousness. I think we are all connected. It's just whether we actually recognize that connection and notice those threads. I think we're all
mm.
connected. I'm starting to see these little strings everywhere all of a
Of
sudden, but
course, of
yeah,
course. You have, I assume you have connections like this with other people.
I do. And I read a novel, I can't remember the name of it, some time ago.
Mm,
And she spoke about, the author speaks through the main character about these threads and that of us being connected. And she spoke about there are golden threads and then silver threads, there are green threads, right? And there are different ones, and some are dark threads. And when you think about some of our relationships that were perhaps unhealthy or even toxic. Maybe we were threaded to someone for a reason, but it was a dark thread. But it's when we follow them, make them stronger, or even cut them, perhaps, in life. And I loved the way that you presented that. So the way I'm going to talk about it with you.
mm. It's great. I love it. I just love it. I would say it's the breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
We,
Oh, of course. Yes.
there are many ways to say it, but because of what I do, and because how the breath has really literally transformed my life, and it continues to do so. In fact, I posted at the timing of we're recording this video, I just posted another short video the other day. There's there's something else happening for me that I can't quite describe. It's familiar and unfamiliar all at the same time.
Mm,
And it's almost as if, you know, I'm not a practicing Christian anymore. I'm more spiritualist, but that's been my foundation. So that's the language I use. But it's almost as if God is taking me back prior to creation,
Okay.
when it was just the breath, before the
Mm,
breath even formed into people and planets and everything else. And so there's this deeper humbling that's taking place
mm,
back
yes,
to the source.
yeah.
And everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm becoming more still, more quiet inside, which it makes it even more difficult to do things like this because even more I don't want to talk. But
Sure.
yes, it's almost as if God is taking me all the way back to the very beginning and reminding me this is who we are.
Yeah.
And I like to
That's right.
say who and what we are. I borrow that from A Course in Miracles because it's not
Yeah.
just who, it's what.
Yeah.
And
I
we are all that breath. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I just love that. I'm picturing that, and I'm picturing you being able to go back that far because you're getting so deep into your learning and understanding of God, and taking yourself out of religion and putting yourself into more spiritual connection. So um, that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with all of us.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't have words for that, so we'll just let that be. But thank you. And it's I do want to say that there is a time and place for religion. Religion can be very, very helpful.
Mhm.
Um, but in terms of my walk, it has not been helpful. In terms of my journey, it's not been helpful because it can't always define what I'm experiencing or put words to what I'm experiencing, and nor do we always need it.
Yeah,
I don't think we always need to define it because I think that can also take away from what we're experiencing.
right, right.
But
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I find people will pigeonhole themselves somehow um, with definitions, as you're saying, and instead
Mhm.
of experiencing the wholeness and the universalness of what spirit and God can be. And I refer to God as God. And I see God as the source of life and love and as this big energy source. And when those of us who did have religion as our foundation and we go back to what we learned about God from a religion background and we think of God creating us, right? And we learned that we were created in his image. I used to think of that very literally, being created in his image. And I've
Mm,
come I've come to let go of these fundamentalist beliefs, right? And I've come to now think of more in terms of energy and being and light. And what I think
mhm,
of energy, and when you were asked me that question, how we're the connection, and immediately what came to my mind were these beautiful threads of light, connecting us. And that's what I'm thinking of now. I'm picturing that being created in the image of God means the energy, his light force, right?
mm,
This light force of God, and that the connections are these threads of light. And oh, that just made me feel warm and tingly just thinking about that. But it's a flow of energy that's love and life and all of those things. And of course, when you say breath, that allows me to breathe when I feel
yeah.
this light in this state of body and mind and connection and recognizing that God is source and source is breath, and however we want to open that up to feel it. I think it's all about feeling it. And anyway, thank you for this space to even talk about these things.
Yeah. Of course, of course. I, I think I started it because I wanted the space.
Mm,
I was hoping someone would give me the space.
mhm.
And now I've done it for I'm not only doing it for myself, I'm doing it for so many people because I'm hearing the same, what you just said, getting the same feedback from other people that I'm in conversation with. And just so the listeners know, this is going to be a very different episode because you've already been on before.
Right.
And we love having you, and I'm sure you're going to be on again at some point. And the last time we were together, you had mentioned that, you're out of another platform
Yep.
and you're thinking about getting your stuff back going. Where are you in that timeline now? Are you getting a podcast going again, or what's
Yeah,
going on?
so thank you for asking. But so the Soul CPR episodes that exist are still out there on all the
Yeah.
platforms, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, all of that. I am looking for where I will relaunch new ones and then
Mm.
how where they're going to live. So I'm working on that and I haven't gotten very far yet. I'm in school. Did you know I'm in school?
No, I
I
didn't
am
know that.
getting Yeah, I'm getting my master's in positive psychology. So I've been very, very busy working on that because the summer classes have been not my cup of tea, if you will. Statistics,
Yeah.
research methods, and things that I haven't studied in decades. So um, the summer's been difficult. I can't wait for the fall classes to start. Then I'll be back more into the things I really do want to learn more deeply about, like
Mm.
attachment styles and emotions and truly
Yeah.
elements of positive psychology. But I'm proud of myself because, I'm coming out with A's and I'm working.
There you go.
But anyway, but the pause on the podcast actually came at a good time because I was so
Mm.
inundated with work this summer in my master's program because these are not things that come natural for me, statistics and research
Mm.
methods. But I've learned a lot and I've read a lot and I'm proud of myself. But I do hope to have the podcast back up by September, and then you will be a return guest on the
Mm.
podcast, and I'll keep you posted when I get it up there. But I will
Wonderful.
have my own YouTube channel then because it was always on Bold Brave TV's YouTube channel, and all the old shows will be under Soul CPR on YouTube rather than on Bold Brave TV. And then when I figure out where I will record and
Mhm.
and disperse from, that will be one place that they will be found.
Yeah. Did
And
you
thanks for
say
asking.
Of course. Did you say positive psychology?
Yeah. Are
What
you
is a
familiar?
No. Tell
Okay.
us. What is that?
That's a newer genre of psychology. It actually came
Okay.
about around in the 1980s. And it really is about helping people overcome traumas in their life. It's really the
Mm.
things you and I talk about.
Mm.
It's about healing and overcoming by focusing on the good without denying the bad or the dark side. So
Mm.
it goes back to saying this happened, acknowledging and validating whatever it was that was
Sure.
negative, painful, and harmful. But rather than getting stuck in the past about it, it's acknowledging it and then moving forward by saying, what is good? What have I learned?
Mm.
How can I grow? And so positive psychology, we could go back. My grandmother was reading Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking back when I was a
Yeah,
child.
yeah, yeah.
It's not new, but they've recognized the power of it, that people don't have to let their traumas define their life. They can say it's as simple as saying that every rose has its thorns, right? Now you can
Mm.
choose to focus on the thorny stem, but you can also then look up and say, but there's also this beautiful blossom at the top. Now it's my choice, like you and I say about taking responsibility, to
Mhm.
say, I can get stuck in the thorny stem and only focus on, yes, but this is my life. Or I can say, there's this beautiful uh, blossom that I can also choose to focus on. Now that's my choice. And if I
Mm.
focus on the blossom, what might change? What might be different in my life if I focus here rather than here? This still is here. There's still a stem full of thorns. and I've been pricked and I've bled and all of these
Yeah.
things. But what would be different in my life? And they've proven through different neuropsych research that people do have greater life satisfaction, better health and well-being, not because they had any less trauma, but because they
Mm,
chose to focus on what was beautiful, good,
mm,
light
mm.
in life.
Yeah.
So it's no different than what you and I say. It really is that. And
Right.
this is why I chose to do my studies in that, because I believe in the gift of shift, which we talked about, this shifting of the mindset. You can change how you experience life, not by changing the circumstance, but simply by changing the outlook. You can change
Mm.
how you experience it. And and that becomes choice. Once you have the awareness, it becomes choice. So that's really what it's all about. And it's really cool that it's a whole field now, whole field of psychology,
Yeah,
right?
that is cool. So I'm going to tease you as I did in the last episode. So when you're all done, you're going to have more initials after your name.
Unfortunately, yes. I just love to learn, and
You do. Yeah.
I love to learn. And this is just another program. And I always wanted to get my master's back when I was in school, but I told you when I kind of got lost in the dark, thorny
Hmm.
stems of life was when I was in university. And so I lost my self-confidence. I lost my way. I lost who I was. I lost my goals and dreams all got set aside. I did not pull out of that for quite a long time. So it wasn't um, that I was able to go back, go fulfill my dreams and goals and be who I was,
Mm.
get back on the saddle, as they say, or any of those things, or focus on what was good. I just kept going forward. So it looked like I was fine, but I was just, I always say that line from Finding Nemo when they say, just keep swimming. I hate that.
Yeah.
I just
Yes.
swimming, and I didn't slow down,
Hmm.
didn't stop, reflect. That's when I say float. When I tell the story that in my book, The Gift of Shift, in one of the stories where my dad taught me how to swim in a lake back home in Alabama, where but he wouldn't teach me to swim until I learned how to float. And he said, this will save your life one day. And I didn't
Mm.
know how metaphorically true that was. But when I stopped swimming and focusing on the swimming and just moving forward, and I learned floated, and we talked about this last time, I believe, because I could hear my breath in my ears.
Mm.
I could hear my heartbeat slow down and focus on the sky above you, if you can picture that. But that's what I mean with all of us, to slow down, take a
Yeah.
breath, pause, get perspective, and then choose what direction to swim in and at what pace. Maybe I need to just backstroke
Mm.
a little bit. Maybe I need to, you know, just get over to the edge and sit down and lie down by the still waters, whatever, for a little while. Maybe I don't need to just keep going because
Yeah.
life somewhere said you're supposed to do this in 4 years, supposed to do that in the next two, and you're supposed to do that. So truly going back to school now is for me, and not
Mm.
because I'm supposed to or had to, or it's
Mm.
joy.
When you were talking, I was thinking of one of my favorite verses in the canon scripture is "Be still and know that I am God."
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, who's also a theology guy, he just said, figure or not, he found out that he was looking for something else. And the Hebrew word that we translate into be still, a better translation is actually desist.
Mm.
Completely let go
Mhm.
and know that I am God.
Completely let go. And I think the lesson in everything is to let go. I don't care what it is.
Yes.
Letting go of our negative thoughts about something, letting go of the people, the places, things in our lives that may be holding us back from
Mm.
experiencing life the way that would bring us the most joy and well-being, whatever it may be, letting go is always the lesson.
Yeah. I've as a person of psychology, you can understand this term. Just realized just recently, I've been chasing people,
Mm.
chasing situations. As much as I don't like being in the spotlight,
Yeah.
unhealthily, I was seeking the spotlight. I was trying to get people to see me. I was chasing relationships for people to let me know what value I have, to let me know what worth I have, to let me know how lovable I am. I was chasing businesses, I was chasing clients, and when I that switch flipped for me the last couple days,
Wow.
I feel so free. I don't have to chase anymore.
No. Yeah.
And again, it is so freeing. And I knew, on one hand, I knew I was doing it,
Hmm.
but I didn't know that I was doing it like I understood it in a soul level now.
Right. Yeah.
And yet, going back to your finding Nemo, yeah, it was all about chasing. Chase,
Just
chase,
keep swimming.
chase, chase. We are addicted to the chase. There is an emotional payoff that we're getting
Hmm.
by thinking we have to chase or thinking we have to do something or or we have to hustle.
Keep going. Yep. Got to keep going.
And more is coming into my life since I am desisting.
Yeah. Letting
And
go.
as a psychologist, I don't know if you could pontificate more on that, if I can use such a big word.
And I'm not a psychologist yet, but as a coach, I would say I've just learned through my own life and through my clients all these years that it is the letting go that allows us to receive. And I think that's one of my favorite verses from the Bible. And I don't remember if we said this in the last episode as well, but I will give you beauty for your ashes. But that
Mm,
word for is big. That means you got to let go. You can't hold on to those ashes, right? It's for your ashes. So you've got to let them go so that you can then receive God's gift, whatever that is. And so it's just this letting go, this whole theme of letting go that I found my whole life for me, for my clients, the way you just spoke that, and that so much more comes in once we let go.
mm,
Letting go of a relationship. I primarily am a relationship coach. So I help people deal with relationship conflict or move through separation and divorce or move through grief after the death of someone close to them or deal with family estrangement. So there's a lot of sadness in my work, right? Or a lot of fear. People who,
mm,
when will I ever meet someone to love me? What's wrong with me that I've not had a serious relationship, or I can't keep one? So there's all these types of thoughts coming from them, but they're holding on to something that they have to let go of. And sometimes I'll hear them say, I'd rather be in a bad relationship than not have a relationship in a romantic
mm.
way, right? So
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
hold on. I'm like, but you have to let go to receive the one you truly desire and deserve. But someone's better than no one. Those types of messages, right? Well, how is that belief limiting you? Well, it's limiting you because this holding on, this holding on, this holding on is such a common theme through so many aspects of life. It's the same with money. The client I had before you and I met, we were just talking about this. It's not her problem, but we're talking about it because of some people she deals with. On the wheel of life, which is a tool I use in coaching, and the tool is designed to show us that to have overall satisfaction and wellness in life, We've got to know that life is broken down into different categories. And so many people will hyper focus in one category of life, and then other areas of life will suffer. But it's designed as a wheel so that we recognize it should turn in balance. Okay. So across from one category, there's purposefully, intentionally another category. Well, across from from spiritual awareness or spiritual life is financial. You would think
Hmm.
maybe financial would be across from career. No, it's across from spiritual. So we talked about this because why? People either have a money mindset of holding on really tightly, hoarding it, saving
Hmm.
it. Something's going to happen. I've got to, right?
Yep.
Or, some people are really the, loose with their money or, whatever. Or maybe they have an abundance mindset. Well, it tends to typically go, where's their spiritual mindset? Is
Okay.
their spiritual mindset one that's very limited? Or is it one that there's flow, that this is energy and this is flow? Is my money mindset that it's flow, that for my time and my skill set, I am and this is how I think about it, Chad. I think that when I am doing whatever I do, and I don't care if I'm making a sandwich for someone, folding their laundry, or I'm spending time coaching with someone, that's an offering. I see
Mm.
it as an offering. Now, if it's something I'm compensated back, if it's, I might get a hug, let's say from one of my sons, or in coaching, I might get paid, or I might get a thank you card from someone for something I did for making sandwiches for an event, right? So whatever it is, it's an offering, and then I get something in return. Well, when it's money, it's currency, but it's an offering, and then I have to be open to receiving what's coming in. And that's currency, that's flow. Well, if I have the flow that it's abundance always going to come in, it's going to come in and it's going to go out because I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to give my money out for something I'm going to receive. It might be for something the farmers grew, right? And I'm paying them for their
Mm.
time, their energy, and their effort. And I'm getting their tomatoes and their potatoes and their cucumbers or whatever it may be, or for someone else's service at the nail salon, right? For their time and their energy. So the money is in constant flow. That's what it's supposed to be. But I also believe in flow spiritually. I believe in God's energy flow. And if I believe those two
Hmm.
things are across from each other on that wheel of life for a reason, because those two mindsets need to match one another.
Yeah.
Now, you use the word chase. Am I chasing God, or do I just believe He's present
Mm.
there?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not something I need. It's just, I believe it's that what I need is always there. It's right.
Hmm.
When I let go of the fear of will He be there? Will money be there? When I let go of the fear, does everything just work out? So that's something I would offer up today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to tell everyone who's listening, we know we're experiencing some technical difficulties, so we appreciate your patience and staying with us. So, but everything's coming through. It's just a little delayed here and there, but otherwise it's fine. So,
Absolutely. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry
But we
about that.
we we got you. We've
All
got
right.
every word.
Good, 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 good.
So, I say this to you every time we talk, and I'm gonna probably say it until our friendship ends or whatever. But I love Soul CPR. I
Oh,
love
good.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And as I've said before too, as I read your stuff, I feel like my soul is getting the hooked up to the defibrillator. It's getting a restart. And um, can you just talk more about that? Just go in a little bit more depth than what you did before. Just how did Soul CPR come about again? I know you'll go a
Yeah,
little bit over the same things, but it's okay. If you're able to go in more depth, that would be really cool.
absolutely. That Soul CPR came about because I recognized that that's what I needed, and that's actually what I
Mm.
did for myself when I finally stopped swimming and I
Mm.
rested and I floated in life and I assessed my surroundings and I found my breath again and my heartbeat again. So just like in physical CPR, you know, we stop and we assess the victim, right? And we open their airway. And if they're not breathing, we give them a rescue breath. And
Mm.
then we check for the heartbeat. And if it's not there, we start chest compressions and we alternate that with the breath, right?
Yeah.
Rescue chest compressions. That's CPR. And that's what I felt I am. I don't know who I am. I've lost myself at this point. I
Mm.
had been in an abusive marriage. My
Yeah.
firstborn had passed away. Um, I had a second son, and I felt like I knew something had to change. And I knew that I had to take responsibility for creating that change. But I'd let religion, speaking of that, keep me stuck in that marriage, in an unhealthy relationship, because I said I do in
Hmm.
front of, in front of God and man and friends. I accepted presents. I had all these wedding gifts. Now it'd been 8 years, but I'd still let this mindset. And I'd even gone to my church seeking guidance. And I felt I was guided to keep trying. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
made me feel guilty to think about, leaving this marriage, but I was also ashamed to tell the truth and the whole truth about what was happening in my home. So
Mm. Mm.
there was a lot about, I think, once we reveal the fullness of our stories, that we can truly be helped fully. So I was holding back some because of shame and embarrassment, but I also I thought it was enough to say that there was infidelity in the marriage. I thought people would be
Mm.
supportive, and they weren't, from
Yeah.
the church. And so it took me a while to admit there was physical abuse and emotional abuse and other things. But from that, I felt like I just kept swimming, kept swimming, kept swimming, and I was holding my breath. Talk about the importance of breath to life.
Yeah.
But we can say I wasn't living because I wasn't breathing. And I'd lost track of my heartbeat, which means I didn't know who I was or what I wanted anymore. I was just
Yeah.
existing. And so when I finally came to those conclusions and I metaphorically stopped swimming and floated and could hear my breath, get back in touch with it, find my heartbeat, I made some choices in my life to make some changes, and I did so for myself and for my son.
Mm.
And I felt like I took the first breath of life. You know how they spank a baby to make it cry to
Yeah.
freeze. That's so that it will expand its lungs and take that breath, its first breath out
Mm.
of utero. And I just felt like that's what happened. I took the first breath and my life began anew. Now there was still
Mm.
a lot to deal with, a lot of darkness, going through divorce, dealing with
Sure.
uh, a controlling ex who even divorce wasn't enough to for him to let go
Mm.
control. Um, and I had a lot of learning and growing to do, but I kept doing it. And what I realized once I got well beyond that was this process of CPR. And
Mm.
so when I later became a coach, many, many years later, I realized that this was I could put it into a process and make it a healing process. And so I used the acronym because I knew that's what it really had happened. And the C is about
Sure.
connecting the dots. We cannot move forward if we do not understand where we came from. And so this
Mm.
is about connecting the dots of our past so we can truly look at it through the lens of being an observer of our past, not a participant. It's not to
Mm.
re-experience trauma or
Yeah.
pain. It's to understand the highs and the lows of our past so that we can now understand the present and say, this is why I keep having these kinds of patterns in relationships. Why, as some clients say, I'd rather be in a bad relationship than never. That's because of whatever
Yeah.
happened back here. So that's why we have to examine the past. Now we can pinpoint the patterns of the present, and then we can identify what's the real pain. What's the real pain that's keeping me stuck in my present from living my best life, from enjoying life, from having the being next to God, truly having closeness, which is, I believe, we separate ourselves from God when we stay stuck in these places of pain and negativity and toxicity and um, low energy. So from the P, the R in CPR is now I'm going to recover my truth, because your truth was, again, we are beings created from God, of God, like God, from the fabric of God, if we want to say that, to go back
Yeah.
to the connecting threads and
Yeah.
from his breath. So the breath of life. So when we come here, the R, recovered my truth, know who I am before the pain of the past and the patterns of the present. Who am I
Mm.
truly? And when I recover the truth of who I am, I can find my purpose, because a lot of people say, I
Mm.
don't know what my purpose is. We can get clarity in purpose, and we can create meaning from the painful things
Mm.
that we've gone through, create meaning from those, and we can move forward and truly thrive in life again. So that's the recovery period.
Yeah.
And we revive. That's when we revive. So that's your personal revival. Now,
Yeah.
Baptist church, so we were all about revivals. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
revival is that reborn again, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. Soul CPR really is the whole acronym to everything. I realized my soul was code, whatever they say when you are not breathing and no heartbeat detected.
Mhm.
That's how I
Mhm.
was living my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to revive it.
That's beautiful.
And
I love it. I love it. You went more in depth this time, and I really, really appreciate that. It's just a beautiful story, and you got to breathe. You have to breathe.
you have to breathe. And when you realize that you come onto this earth, it's the first thing for their sign, it's to get you to breathe. And it's the last thing before we die. It's that
Yeah.
final breath. So when you hold your breath in the middle of those two events, if you're
Yes.
holding your breath through life, people, you're missing life. You're not
Mhm.
living life to your fullest. And to me, that not breathing through life is your separation from God, to tie it into what you do, Chad. So we have
Yeah.
uh, to live true to ourselves, to take responsibility for our lives, to pull ourselves up and out of darkness and pain and depression and sadness and all. We're going to experience those things. That is part of the human experience. It's the human journey. However, coming back to the breath, coming back to source and saying, this, this I matter, this is who I am, and my breath is what will lift me and keep me in connection to God. Yeah.
Breathing with you every time you say it.
I feel like I'm preaching sometimes. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even the tradition I grew up in, we had revivals quite often. So it's not just the Baptist church, but I've heard you say at least twice now when a client is talking to you, I'd rather be, I forget how you said it now. I'd rather be alone than be in a bad relationship.
No, in a bad relationship than be alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
be in a bad relationship than be alone. Okay, I got it reversed. Because I've also heard the other way too. I'd rather be alone than be in a bad relationship. But I would say, and I tell people this, if you're going to say, it doesn't matter how you say it, how's your relationship with yourself?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And that's the answer to the pattern that I'm talking
Yes.
about with me, because they're not considering themselves. If they're saying, I'd rather be in a bad relationship than be alone, they can't be alone. They'd rather be in something that's harmful and hurtful. That's self-betrayal, Chad.
Yeah. Yes.
Betraying themselves. They're sabotaging any kind of of self-love. But self-love's scary. I mean, that's like
Mm,
thing. That's like, what? It's so foreign. It's such a foreign concept to so many
yeah.
people. It was to me too. I'm going to tell you, self-love, it sounded selfish, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I get to that? Well, when I started equating that to, if God is in me, I have to love me.
Mm,
I can just use semantics to, well, God is
okay.
to love me because, I profess love for God. I cannot, and I used to go back to other little things from church, and this is where the little church things stick, that my body is his temple. Well, then I can't harm my body because it's God's temple, right? So how am I harming my body? Well, if I uh, overeat, overdrink, over whatever, do anything toxic to my body. So why would I let another person hurt me mentally, physically,
Yeah.
all these things? So rather than go against God, which is what I found I did in my first marriage, and I felt like God kept me in it, or religion kept me in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I pledged to God, kept me in it. When I had to turn that around and used God to help me get out. My
Yeah.
belief, your beliefs are so strong. So your belief system will drive your actions. So when you think about your beliefs, if they're harming you, re-examine them. You can change what you believe.
Mm,
Sometimes you just need to find the right evidence, or you need someone like Chad or me to help you question them, to hold you accountable and help you understand, did that belief come because it was passed down to you? Was it handed to you? Have you ever challenged it? We have to challenge our beliefs to make sure we're healthy and strong. Think of your beliefs like your garden. If you yourself are the structure, you're the house, your beliefs are like planted the garden around the house. That can change. You may find out, you know what, you don't like daffodils anymore. You can replace daffodils with roses, or you can replace roses with bluebonnets. You can change your garden, which is comprised of so many things like beliefs and values. They change over time as you learn and as you grow and you evolve and you mature, can change. That core structure that's you has always been you. You may have let people plow into it and decorate it for you, reclaim it, repaint it, bring it back to you. And that comes from Cloud and Townsend, the authors of a book called Boundaries. They talk about boundaries like gardens and fences, not walls. So just a thought. If anybody's interested in
yeah.
reading,
Yeah.
that's where you can get that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, Ann, said it before. We could talk forever, and we
I
usually do.
We usually do. We do when we can. We usually talk another hour after we stop recording.
Exactly. It's it. It's just so true. Um, I will plug your book. When we post this episode, I'm so sorry I did not do that on the last one. So if you want to take a few minutes to plug it now, go ahead. You pull it off the back shelf and show us.
Here. And I'll just say this too. So
Yeah.
I co-authored a book called The Gift of Shift with
Yep.
my a coach and colleague, Tracy McDonald. And it's just 12 short chapters. each a different circumstance in life that we've all been through on some sort, either finding hope, choosing forgiveness or not,
Mhm.
betrayal. We've all experienced betrayal on some level, and other common life themes. And it's just like 3, 4 pages each story. And it's one of our personal stories to demonstrate how we moved through a negative mindset to choosing a positive one, to change how we experience that. Didn't change the circumstance. There was still whatever happened, happened, but it changed how we
Mhm.
experienced it and therefore um, our overall wellness. There's 5 coaching questions after each chapter to help
Okay.
the reader then kind of go through how they've either came through that type of theme, and it helps them identify their strengths so they can apply that to some new challenge in their life, or it'll help them identify how they may still be stuck in that kind of challenge and help them work through that. And there's some extra journaling pages after each chapter. The other thing I'll bring up, it's not a book, but this is just a journal, Soul CPR
Okay.
journal from my last retreat. So every year I try to do a retreat, a soul CPR retreat, to help people connect in those ways that we were talking about as soul CPR. So I haven't planned 2025. It's kind of gotten away from me because of school, but I will start planning my 2026 and have that out soon. Last year, I did a self-love retreat because I find that is so hard for people. And I did it around Valentine's Day. And it was such a beautiful experience, and to see people find their voice with self-love, but also to hear their challenges with it and see how universal they are, was really eye-opening for me and very humbling also to know that we all share that.
Wow. Yeah. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So, well, as we do every episode, let's end with the breath and then some silence together in the sacredness, and I'll bring us back this time.
Beautiful.
As we open our eyes, come back together, we bring the stillness with us, and we live this stillness in every moment of our lives. And thank you so much again for joining us. It's always a pleasure. No.
Likewise.
And we thank all of you for joining us, and we will catch you in the next episode.